Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're doing a showcase for the new legend VEGA-PUNK Atlas that has arrived over on OPTC, showcasing her some regular content and talking about how good this unit actually is. Now, obviously this is a treasure map legend, so the character is going to shine the most against the treasure map that the character is built for, and obviously treasure map comes out tonight, and we'll showcase that and Atlas's abilities in those particular stages. But what about the rest of the game? How does the character go in the regular tapping format that we know and love? And what teams does she work best on? Well, as a captain, Atlas boosts int, cerebral, and fighter characters, but most of the time, you will be building out mono cerebral teams. And that's what I've done in today's video, because that's where she shines the best. Obviously, with Lilith as well, being another cerebral booster, and then having the power of stuff like Uta, Carrot Wanda, Pudding, Hiyori, you have a lot of very good cerebral characters in the game, and obviously with the buffs that just got released as well with Moria Perona and Dofi Sugar, cerebrals, they're just getting a lot of love right now, and I can see them moving into Anniversary with more VEGA-PUNK units having these cerebral buffs. But she also makes strength orbs beneficial for those three types and colors. She reduces 10 turns of attack down, which is very, very powerful, and if the crew uses an orb amplification, she increases it by 0.25, which can stack with other abilities. So anytime anyone uses an orb buff, so right there we got an orb buff from our Vivi and Rebecca, that is actually going to be increased to 2.25 rather than 2 times. It's just a flat boost, and then if you increase it yourself, you can get a higher boost there as well. So very powerful captain ability. She gives 1 turn of cooldown at the start of the fight as well. She's a 5.25 times captain, 5.5 if you have a matching orb, and a 1.35 times HP buff. Her special is what makes her so unique though. Very similar to Lilith, she has the stacking ability, and she's the only character in the game that can do this for orb buffs, whilst we have other characters that can do it for stuff like conditionals, and for stuff like attack boosts like Lilith. This particular character is going to double stack orb buffs, and that makes her very valuable as a captain, because if you increase that orb buff, it allows you to overstack it, as when you use her special, if your captain is cerebral, she's going to reduce the orb effect that you have by 1.0. As you guys saw there, she reduced her own orb effect that she gave with the superclass, reducing it down to a 1.5 or a 1.75 if the character is int and cerebral, both of the color and typing. And then she can add another one on top. And with that, we can use something like Carrot Wanda to apply a 2.5 times orb boost, which again will get increased to 2.75. So you can do some really, really cool stuff with this particular character as a captain. She's going to work exceptionally well alongside Lilith, and the two of those characters, the two units together, are going to absolutely decimate particular pieces of content. And when we get like something like a Psy Super Boss, I can definitely see the Int Cerebral team being the team that needs to take that down with these double stacking abilities. Because if you can get a double stacking 1.75 times attack and orb boost, and then add on that extra 2.75 or 2.5 times, whatever you guys are doing, and then obviously they're increasing the buffs as well, you can do some really, really interesting stuff with these two characters together. Alright, so moving over to PKA now, we're going to take on level 150 with a Dofi Sugar friend captain, and again, this is where the cerebral buffs show their prowess. Obviously, Atlas is going to be very good in PKA level 150, because one is she's a cerebral character and works well with Dofi Sugar, but two is an int character, so actually has type advantage. Now we're going to be using Lilith on the team rather as a friend captain here, because again, Dofi Sugar is just so good for this content. But we're going to try and do some fun stuff with that double stacking ability that I mentioned. However, Atlas as a captain does provide a little bit more than just the extra attack buff on your orbs, as well as the 5.5 times captain. She has the ability to remove 10 turns of attack down. This is insanely valuable. Not a lot of characters can do it in the game, and the characters that do it, are very powerful. Namely, 6+ Rayleigh Gaban, K-Dad, Frankie Tanky. Those types of characters are just seeing infinite value across the board. And if you have a captain with such good utility, like Attack Down or Special Bind, like Dofi Sugar have, it automatically gives them so much more viability in the game. So I love that they added this ability in her kit. It's really, really nice. You get cooldowns, you get a good attack boost, you get matching orbs, or one type orb matching as well. And then that ability to remove attack down is definitely something that's going to see a lot of really good play. As you guys saw in the Hawkins arena fight that we just took on, that's a real big positive to her captain ability. Talking about extra nitpicky stuff that she does with her special, rather than all damage as well, is she has the ability to remove the orb-based damage reduction debuff. Now, no character, as far as I'm aware, can actually do this in the game besides Atlas, which is insanely valuable. And if you... Actually, no, I think Sabo Koala does it. I think Sabo Koala completely removes it. And if you remember back to those Sabo Koala days where they were adding all of this really annoying, like, orb... No, actually, Sabo Koala do the one where they make type the orb's negative effect, not the actual orb-based damage reduction. I do believe Atlas is the only character that can do this. But if talking about Sabo Koala, though, back in the Sabo Koala days, when that unit first released, was probably one of the worst places that OPTC's ever been in, because the content was so built around that particular debuff. Now, besides Atlas, you do have stuff like Shiroshi Mancherry that could remove it. I don't know if it's a buff on the enemy. We'll find out in Treasure Map. I know I've seen it before. I just can't remember off the top of my head. Let me know in the comment section below if you guys know. I actually think it is a buff that the enemy has rather than a debuff that you get. So stuff like Shiroshi Mancherry can't remove it. But with some of these other really annoying abilities, Shiroshi Mancherry has been showing her value in terms of removing stuff like Pain, the anti-healing debuff, and I believe lots of people will probably use Shiroshi Mancherry in this upcoming treasure map as well. But on top of that orb-based damage reduction removal by 6 turns, Atlas can remove 6 turns of damage reduction. Now, she also has an ability where when you use her special, she is going to allow her own attacks to go through defensive effects, except for defense up. And I find this very odd that she removes 6 turns of damage reduction and then has her own attacks ignore barriers and defensive effects. Because in hindsight, when you use her special, she's just going to ignore the barriers and defensive effects. But this is actually a really, really good ability. I don't actually showcase it because I totally forgot about it until this particular voiceover. But I use Carrot Wonder in the same way for the next piece of content. And whilst it's not like an insane ability, it can be very, very handy to just absolutely bink mini bosses and stage 4 bosses and stuff like that might have like a stupid barrier or might have a crazy threshold, something like that, and you can just use this character to get through it. Remember, she's giving a 2.75 times attack boost if you don't have an attack boost, or she's increasing the attack boost you already have and allowing you to override an orb boost, which she can actually give with her super class. She is a super class Cerebral, which I'm not a huge fan of because Lilith is a super class Cerebral. But I do understand why they did it, because they gave the super type to the CP0 unit. But I do believe down the line, I think they're going to have something going on with super typing and VEGA-PUNK. I think like VEGA-PUNK will be a super EX character, which will have this super type in the ability. And I feel like down the line, once we get stuff like Shaka, once we get the rest of the VEGA-PUNK units as well, running these characters as captains might not be the best option. So they've given us an option to either use Lilith as a captain, to either use Atlas as a captain, depending on what you need to do, and both of them have a super class. I'm a bigger fan of super classes than I am of super types, just because super classes have a lot more viability in a large variety of the game, rather than just being against the type that you are using with the types of characters you have on your team. So I do like that they have super class, but I do wish it was something a little bit different. I just don't know what that difference is. But as I was saying, as long as you have 6 Cerebral characters on the crew, or 6 int characters. So you can build a mono int team, or you can build a mono Cerebral team, which is actually really, really nice. So it allows you to just bring other characters so you get access to that ability. Most of the time, though, you're going to see mono Cerebrals. Like, that's going to be what you're using 99% of the time. She gives you a full bottle strength orbs that goes through a block, increases the orb effects of int Cerebral characters by 2.75, 2.5 if they're int or Cerebral, and then transforms all Cerebral characters into Super Cerebral. So this super class obviously is very, very powerful, because you can just easily just build out a Cerebral team, or you just build out an int team. I wish it was like 5 characters, not like the full team. It would give you a little bit more diversity with team building, but the fact that it's the same as Lilith's means that if you run them together, like we're doing over here in Revolution Army 2, it's very easy to get access to both your superclass abilities. Now, obviously, the superclasses, they're not going to stack. And yeah, sure, you could probably say, yeah, but Stump, I wish it was like another superclass for like fighters, or Lilith might have superclass for shooters. But again, we don't really know what the other VEGA-PUNKs are going to look like. Shaka could be a slasher, VEGA-PUNK could be a striker. Like, there's so many other variables that we just don't know about right now. Hell, VEGA-PUNK could have the ability to just change everyone into another typing, and then that would be a great superclass to have there. But again, I still think that the concept that they're going with Atlas and Lilith is that they want you to run either one of them as a captain or the other one as a captain, not necessarily the two together as captains. But in saying that, the two work insanely well when you hybrid them up. And the reason that is because if you activate your Atlas's super class ability, you're then going to get a 2.75 times orb buff for 2 turns for int cerebral characters. 2.5 times otherwise. Then you can activate your Atlas special. Atlas's special is going to override the orb buff, reduce it to a 1.75 or a 1.5, and then give you an attack buff of 2.75 for 2 turns. Now, as Lilith's captain is going to increase that by 0.25, so this be 0.5, I believe. Is it 0.25? No, 0.25. So this will go up to 3 times attack boost. And then when you use the Lilith special, Lilith is going to give you... well, actually, no, that's not going to work. So you want to use both their superclasses first. So yeah, you use both their superclasses, so you get the 2.75 orbs, 2.75 times attack. And then when you use their specials, you actually overwrite both of them, bringing them both down to a 1.75. But then you apply the attack and the orb boost from the respective other types. Plus, because you have an attack buff and you have an orb buff, they're both going to increase it by 0.5 as well, which is a really strong ability. Their captain also is going to increase that by 0.25. So even though you're dropping the initial attack and orb boost down by 1.0, you're essentially then increasing it by another 2.75 and adding another 0.75 on top of that as well. So this becomes insanely powerful. You have like a 3.5 times attack boost and orb boost on top of that 1.75 that you have stacked. So this becomes an absolute monster of a buff, and something that, again, no other character in the game can do, besides obviously like Robin and Ace, who they're double stacking conditionals, and Big Mom and stuff. But no other character can do this, so that makes it insanely powerful to get something like a 6.125 times attack and orb boost. Then you can run something like Robin, because you're using a cerebral team. She's going to double stack your conditionals, give you a conditional buff. Shaka could be that color affinity booster. You could easily do some fun stuff by bringing like Dofi and Sugar as now as your color affinity booster, giving you increased damage taken and the weakening effect, which is just absolutely disgusting. Then you just bring another character that can give you a guaranteed conditional boost. Something like Sop Sop can even work if you're running Lilith as your captain, as she's a shooter character, and that still opens the door to 1 extra spot on your team to give yourself something like Chain Boundary or do some other fun stuff as well. So the amount of damage output that Cerebral can put out now is going to be really, really scary with these double stacking condition abilities. Plus, both Lilith and Atlas have Final Tap, which is really disgusting because both their Final Taps are insanely powerful. Both of them have the ability with their Final Taps to take all of the damage that the int units are doing on your team, or cerebral characters are doing on your team, I believe, and then throw that back as extra damage, which is just insanely powerful. We've seen it with K-Dad, we've seen it with Straw Hat Crew V2. Both these abilities are just disgustingly strong, like really, really strong. So, oh, hang on. The Lilith has that ability to throw back. The Atlas has doubles the chain multiplier growth rate by 2 times, just like Robin has. So having Lilith being that extra damage dealer is going to be a better Final Tap, but Atlas could see a little bit of play there if you manage to get dupes. You're going to get more dupes of Lilith easier because she's a regular legend, but both of them being Final Tap isn't the worst thing, but I wish there was Super Tandem in there. But again, I feel like other VEGA-PUNKs are going to bring that. As you guys saw there against Karasu, we used that ability to just bypass defensive effects. I did it with Carrot Wanda, but it's going to see play with Atlas as well. Finally, the final thing I want to touch on with Atlas, and I don't showcase this in this video, she's actually really good in Rumble, so make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on that video, because that video will be coming out just after Treasure Map goes live. But this character has an insane support ability. Goes on any int cerebral character, and when they use a special, reduces percent damage reduction by 1 turn, and boosts the attack of int and cerebral characters by 1.75 for 1 turn. This is an insane special ability. If anything, if Atlas doesn't see play on a team, you bet your ass you're probably going to find a way to use that support on a variety of different optional teams. So that's going to wrap up the video. Overall, Atlas is insanely strong. I'm really keen to see a Psy Super Boss, and I have a feeling one will be coming for the anniversary, so be ready for the big damage teams there. But that wraps up the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.